'cause she was a girl, though the stepmother's fantasies about shared confidences and day-long shopping trips evaporated quickly enough. Why, after all, would a girl be anything but surly and petulant toward the woman who'd turned her brothers into birds? And so, after a certain patient lenience toward sulking silences, after a number of ball gowns purchased but never worn, the queen gave up. The princess lived in the castle like an impoverished relative, fed and housed, tolerated, but not loved. The 12 Swan princes lived on a rock far out at sea, and were permitted only an annual day-long return to their kingdom, a visit that was both eagerly anticipated and awkward for the king and his consort. It was hard to exult in a day spent among 12 formerly stalwart and valiant sons who could only, during that single yearly interlude, honk and preen and peck at mites as they flapped around in the castle courtyard. The king did his best at pretending to be glad to see them. The queen was always struck by one of her migraines. Years passed, and then, at long last, on one of the Swan Prince's yearly furloughs, their little sister broke the spell, having learned from a beggar woman she met while picking berries in the forest that the only known cure for the swan transformation curse was coats made of nettles. However, the girl was compelled to knit the coats in secret because they needed, or so the beggar woman told her, not only to be made of nettles, but of nettles collected from graveyards after dark. If the princess was caught gathering nettles from among tombstones past midnight, her stepmother would surely have accused her of witchcraft and had her burned along with the rest of the garbage. The girl, no fool, knew she couldn't count on her father, who by then harbored a secret wish, which he acknowledged not even to himself, to be free of all of his children. The princess crept nightly into local graveyards to gather nettles, and spent her days weaving them into coats. It was, as it turned out, a blessing that no one in the castle paid much attention to her. She had almost finished the 12 coats when the local archbishop, who was not asked why he himself happened to be in a graveyard so late at night, saw her picking nettles and turned her in. The queen felt confirmed in her suspicions, this being the girl who shared not a single virginal secret, who claimed complete indifference to shoes exquisite enough to be shown in museums. The king, unsurprisingly, acceded, hoping he'd be seen as strong and unsentimental, a true king, a king so devoted to protecting his people from the darker forces that he'd agree to the execution of his own daughter if it kept his subjects safe, free of curses, unafraid of demonic transformations. Just as the princess was about to be tied to the stake, however, the Swan brothers descended from the smoky sky, and their sister threw the coats onto them. Suddenly, with a loud crackling sound amid a flurry of sparkling wind, 12 studly young men, naked under their nettle coats, stood in the courtyard, with only a few stray white feathers wafting around them. Actually, there were 11 fully intact princes, and one, the 12th, restored, save for a single detail. His right arm remained a swan's wing, because his sister, interrupted at her work, had had to leave one coat with a missing sleeve. It seemed a small enough price to pay. 11 of the young men soon married, had children, joined organizations, gave parties that thrilled everyone right down to the mice in the walls. Their thwarted stepmother, so raucously outnumbered, so unmotherly, retreated to a convent, which inspired the king to fabricate memories of abiding loyalty to his transfigured sons and helplessness before his harridan of a wife, a version the boys were more than willing to believe. End of story. Happily ever after fell on everyone like a guillotine's blade. Almost everyone.